back. And Thor throws his hammer and she crushes it.
Mm.
Now remember, the Incredible Hulk couldn't pick up Mjolnir. She crushed it.
Mm-hmm.
The difference in power is exhibited in the rightful heir, Hela, coming to reclaim her birthright from Thor. And the
Mm.
only person that can help her enforce it is Loki.
Mm.
Because
So
he's
she got to
not
go to the.
related to Thor. He's related to
So
Hela,
she got to go to the dark side.
the Chaos Realm. And
Huh?
the Chaos Realm. Remember what Bobby said about the Chaos
Mm-hmm.
Realm?
Yep.
Bobby literally said the Chaos Realm is the feminine realm, bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when you're talking about the feminine realm now you're talking about the movement of Shakti,
Mm.
which is the divine feminine energy. So the hell concept that we have does not come from Europe because hell in Europe was the home of heaven, as you see when they call Greek a Hellenistic society.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Rome took over, Rome wanted the Greeks to have the appearance of having some power, so they became the Greco-Roman civilization. But Rome, the ones that conquered Greece.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in Rome, they changed Hela from a male to a female god in the Roman pantheon. In the Roman pantheon, Helen is a man.
Mm.
That's called beheading the god, replacing the air. It's an Anunnaki game of heritable
Bait and
birthright.
switch.
It's how
Baiting and
it's
switching.
stealing birthrights. Because if you don't know that you got the right to reclaim it, then you won't never reclaim it. Because you don't remember that it was yours to begin with, and you thinking that it belonged to somebody with a name same as yours. That's called a
Facts.
namesake flip.
That's a fact. And
That's
what you
what they
think about
did
this?
with the binding thing. That's a name flip. Binding is bind I bind, which is me, bind me, my bind, right?
Mm.
So then you look at the shooting, right? You got a father and son shooting on Bindy Beach, right? The beach is synonymous with surfing.
Mm-hmm.
That means stand 10 toes down under the assault. These
Mm.
are all codes.
Yeah. That's how I see it, man. And it's really a play on, the whole Epstein situation too.
And
That's what I've seen in it. And then you got Albert Pike, the 33rd degree Mason, talking about the political Canaanites going against the those Middle Eastern terrorists.
yeah, that's that's the septic people. They call them septics
Yeah.
now. Hmm.
Hey, I ain't hear about this. What you think about this? It says the Vatican giving Indian tribes back 62 artifacts.
Yeah. I actually posted it a couple days ago.
Mm.
Right. That's what you call a show of good faith.
There's so much shit going on. I ain't even hear about this. Slip right under my nose.
Well,
What
six and
about
two
it?
is eight. Eight
Mm.
is divine feminine. It's also the infinity loop. But to give it to you at 62, it's a broken loop.
Mm. Mm. You all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smoke went down the wrong pipe.
I heard that. Yeah. But
Remember, they just gave the Pope a white horse
well, when was this?
about a week ago,
I said I didn't
maybe
even see
2 weeks
that.
ago.
So
Yeah,
what does that basically symbolize? Like as far as
everybody
like
thinking that the pale horse of Revelations and the white horse is the same. They not.
right.
So the white horse is the conquering horse. The pale horse is the one that carried death.
Right.
If you want to know what a pale horse look like, you watch Pale Rider with Clint Eastwood.
Mm.
Clint Eastwood and Pale Rider represents the spirit of death.
Mm.
He
I
was
think
a
I'm gonna
priest.
watch.
He was a priest riding in on the pale horse, the Pale
You
Rider.
toss. You said the Pale Rider.
Mm-hmm.
Pale Rider.
The color of the horse is important because you get the white horse and you think that the white horse and the pale horse is the same horse, and they're not. And a lot of people call it the pale white horse.
Right.
The pale horse, in the language that it comes out of, it references a greenish color. But
Mm.
when it's actually put to canvas and representation, it'll fade to gray.
Mm. Mm. Interesting. So, with everything going on, as far as like from a political standpoint, economical standpoint, like where do you see this going? Full spectrum. In between 2026 and 2030.
2026, they should, by the time 4th of July, the government transfer should be completed.
Mm.
Because they can't have that celebration unless it's done. They have to take the government back from the corporations
Mm.
before that 250-year celebration.
Mm.
So we know at least by then we should have government telling us something about the power transfer. We're
So
looking
what
at
about the So what about the Constitution? Like even though you have the eradication of maritime law, so what does that do with the Constitution? Is it autonomous now, or is this one of those things where the Constitution is gone too?
when the foreigner took office in Barack Obama, it suspended the Constitution.
Okay.
The only way to reinstate the Constitution is by having a new constitutional convention. And that's not going to happen.
Mm. Cause that would give it an extension, wouldn't it?
If that Well, if they had a new was going to have a new constitutional convention, they'd have had done it by now.
Right.
They still having a problem getting people to understand that they had a foreigner took office, which is an attempted hostile takeover of a foreign government, or
Mm-hmm.
it could be a domestic entity, but they operating in a foreign capacity because they put a foreigner in office.
Mm-hmm.
It all traces back to George Herbert Walker Bush.
Yep. That's a fact.
So eventually we have to restructure government and reallocate resources. But before they do that, this is where Doge came in at. They had to come in and take an account of what we spending, what we making, who's spending what. Right? They not done with that part yet. But now you gonna know when they done because the bottom gonna fall out the banks.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, they just raided Wall Street. The FBI did.
Yep. I forgot to put that video up there. Man.
Yeah. So them raiding Wall Street, they already knew who the guilty players was from the World Court that was holding the human rights violations of the corporation. They was the ones hearing the case. They the
Mm-hmm.
ones who called for the evidence, and when military intelligence gave them the evidence, they got 50 some years or more of evidence showing who all of the fraudsters were.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what the whole Trump um, reign is about is the transfer of power back to the people. It had nothing to do with him personally. He's actually performing a public service
Right.
on behalf of the tribes that's original to the land. Because we need the buck dancing cracker because they keep feeding us buck dancing niggas. So Trump came in straight out of the hip hop community in New York,
Mm-hmm.
right? We forget about that with ties to the Panthers and several other of our tribal dissident groups in New York, right? He put his money where his mouth was,
Mm-hmm.
right? He sent a plane to go get Mandela and bring him over here when he got out of prison. Little do we know that he did that to avoid an assassination on Mandela.
Mm.
You know,
Interesting.
and we had a bunch of rich niggas didn't do it.
Right.
Think about that. See, we be forgetting the people that have our back because they don't look like us sometimes. And sometimes the ones that don't look like us be doing more in our interest than we would give them credit for because somebody that look like us said, I don't agree with him.
Right.
He's a racist. But he wasn't a racist all the way up when he was being in everybody hip hop songs and videos and whatnot. He wasn't a racist then. Only when he
He was,
decided to run for the highest elected office in the land do he become a racist in the minds of the same people that was partying with him and using him as a name drop for clout. Same
mm,
people,
mm,
right? Same people that get trying to get photo shoots with him to boost their rap career. Same people.
mm. Ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun. That's it. Everything
What do you
turn
say? I
around.
was the hunter, now I'm the hunter.
Right. That's how I been. That's why it happened. Damn. Shit. So shit. I'm finna go. Shit. I'm hungry, so I ain't ain't ate nothing today. So I'm finna
I
go.
ain't either. I'm about to go eat too.
I pretty much just some juices. That's about it. So, but yeah, that's it's a lot going on, and so the whole point of this transmission was to show everybody in real time what's taking place from a political standpoint because as I was telling you, a lot of our people, they're civically and they're politically naive about what's taking place. So, especially when it comes to, knowing about who we are and our true nomenclature titles that connects us right back to the land. So I appreciate you coming on, demonstrating that, to my audience, to the younger crowd and everything. And I appreciate you for that. Real talk.
No, for sure, man. You know how we do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
There was one more thing I wanted to mention.
Was it the, you said you had a receipt to show me? You said you had another slide.
Mm-mm. Oh, I remember what I was gonna say. Right here on this question right here about the 62 artifacts. I don't know if you
Okay.
remember, but a couple years ago, I was saying that they're gonna build a big old museum in Egypt for all the Egyptian artifacts and the
Yeah.
African artifacts. Right? They just opened that,
Yeah, I heard about they opened
and I
it
said
too.
that, and I said over here they're gonna return us a lot of artifacts. And the artifacts they return to us, we have to build a museum. We haven't started ours as far as I'm aware. But
Mm.
all of the artifacts that all of these museums took, I don't care whether the ones in Europe or the ones over here, but if it's a tribal artifact, they already got it stamped, labeled, and documented where it came from, and all that's already accounted for. Now all we need to do is give it back so we can put it in our own museum. So we're gonna build a massive museum in the heartland. That means in the center of the country,
Mm.
because all tribes are going to be involved. And that massive museum is going to put on display all of the artifacts recovered from the colonizers.
Where would it be? Little Egypt?
I don't know. We ain't gonna use none of the old shit. We gonna give it something else. I don't know. It might be the Buka Buka Museum. Well, fuck if I know.
No,
we gonna
I was
get.
saying it because no, I was saying the geographical location because there's a place in Carbondale, Illinois. There's like that's like they call it Little Egypt, and that's where they got a lot of the Cahokia mounds, and it leads all the way up to St. Louis in Southern Illinois. The 618 area code area 666 Carbondale. So that's kind of like the apex of dark matter energy, where they had that solar eclipse that took place in 2023?
I don't think it's gonna be where the Cahokia Mounds are. I think it'll be somewhat west of that, but still in the like the Great Plains region.
Or it could be at Serpent Mountain in Ohio.
It's
Because
gonna be
that,
it's gonna be more centered, like more toward Dakota, Nebraska, Wyoming, up in that area somewhere.
okay,
But I
okay,
don't know if the area is decided on yet or not. But it's
okay.
supposed to be in the middle of the country because the way that the service to it is going to be routed through the land. It's going to be from the existing travel ways, what we call highways. And then
Mm,
it's going to make it where whether you're coming from Canada or Mexico, it's a straight shot there. So even if
mm,
they don't have the roads built yet, they're going to have to create that infrastructure. So I'm not sure what's being done in that regard, or if the site has been selected. I do know that it's scheduled to happen. That
mm,
we have to get everything back at the end. This is the end. So when they give us everything back, our relics and artifacts have to be labeled, cataloged, accounted for, and they have to be given back too. A lot of the stuff over here, they catalog it from over here, and then they got what's called a transfer certificate, as if it was recovered from the the Nile Valley over there,
mm-hmm,
right? Like King Tut's tomb. King
mm,
Tut was originally buried in Mammoth Cave in Kentucky,
mm,
right? And his father, Akhenaten, was buried in the Grand Canyon. That's why they couldn't find him over there.
mm. I'm only like an hour. I'm like 90 minutes away from Mammoth Cave, Kentucky.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
you go to
had
Mammoth
when they
Cave, it leads you
first
to Hollow Earth.
found King Tutun, the local newspapers had articles about the discovery. Then they tried to cover it up. The Smithsonian came in and changed the whole narrative in the newspaper by putting retraction stories in the paper.
I also heard that they had found it in the Grand Canyon. I don't know if they
And that
probably
was
took it from.
Akhenaten's tomb.
Yeah, that's who it was. Yeah.
They, but a lot of people think it was Tut because it's his father's tomb. Akhenaten's tomb was in the Grand Canyon, along with several other prominent members of the Kemetic royal families or the Atlantean royal families. But we
Mm-hmm.
used to go travel the world. I mean, we used to go through a gateway in Arizona in the Grand Canyon and walk out in the pyramid over in Giza. All
Mm-hmm.
that stuff is closed down, but the then you can still get to other temple sites from Arizona, so they got it militarily zoned off. If you could try to go down there, but you in the middle of the damn desert, and here you get this dude gonna pop out with a whole black suit on
Mm-hmm.
in the desert, a three-piece suit,
Majestic 12.
and he gonna have some kind of semi-automatic firearm on him. He's
Mm-hmm.
not gonna have on military fatigues like you would expect. He gonna be in a suit and a tie in the desert. You been to the desert before, H?
Yeah.
How you feel wearing a suit and
It's
tie in the desert?
hot as
And
hell. Shit.
then, and the crazy part is you're gonna be like, where the hell he come from? They don't pull up on you in no car. They just walk up on that out of nowhere. Like, where the hell you just come from?
I
They
heard they
there
got a
though.
lot of hidden. I heard they got a lot of hidden doors in those rocks, and they also heard they have teleportation cloaking technology. Like they can throw a blanket over them, and the blanket in itself it bends the photon subatomic particle to the point where it gives off the point where you're looking at a translucent figure.
Yeah. Or it's like projecting what's behind them in front of them.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. They actually got those for sale. You can actually buy some of those now.
Yeah, I seen one of those mirrors. I think I seen one like that on Amazon, I believe. It was for
Yeah.
sale. But they definitely
Fucking,
got that type of
fucking like
technology.
Yeah, but I'm trying to figure out why the hell you in the desert with a suit on. You know
Right.
they had to be somewhere air conditioned wherever you came from.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I guess it's kind of like one of those. It's a part of their codex or whatever, like a suit. Because I know a suit is in itself is a form of the veneration of Freemasonry.
Yeah, well I know that's what all that lapels, all that's Masonic code. Lapels, um,
Lapel.
the lapel on your suit, the collar
Oh,
part that
okay,
come
okay, okay.
down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
That, that's Masonic. Bow ties, neckties, those are all Masonic symbols. Lapel pins, the handkerchief, all that's all the cufflinks. That's all Masonic.
Mm. Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's why I try to tell people. I said we wouldn't wearing no motherfucking suits and have paperwork, nigga. We had feathers and, like you said, feathers and a traditional or tradition, like you said. Everything
Yeah,
was based
we
on.
did keep records, but they burnt that shit up.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Macomb, Mississippi, where a lot of our family records was, they burnt the library down, and they burnt the courthouse down, and they burnt down several churches to get rid of records.
Mm.
Like everybody down there know it, but we don't really care because we still on the land. This is where the problem come in at. We still on the land. They keep telling us they stole our land. Possession is 9/10 of the law, and we standing on
Right.
it. Possession 9/10 of the law, and we 10/10 of the owners.
Mm.
So we got the sacred 19 over us. We got the right to reclaim it, following our
Right.
system. If we follow their system, we don't got no rights. Under our system, we got all the rights in the world and the
Right.
rights in the universe and the galaxy. Right? So this is why you rely on your tribal culture to navigate out of this legal fictional culture. Right? Because only by the tribal culture would you see it. You won't see it following a system because it's designed to blind you in plain sight to the what you see. It's designed to teach you to not exercise critical thinking, practical problem solving skills. The system designed that way. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to say, well, you got to always be asking yourself, well, if I wasn't in this system, would I be thinking this way? And the more you realize that you wouldn't be thinking a lot of the times, you'd be thinking about stuff a certain way, and you'd be like, if I wasn't in this system, hell no, I wouldn't be thinking that old sick ass shit.
That's a fact.
Well, yeah, I'm only think that shit because I'm bombarded with that shit,
Mm-hmm. That's
right?
a fact.
It's like children. Children don't be thinking about half the shit adults be accusing them of thinking about. Ain't even on their mind. Babies trying to have fun. That's it. And you done accused the little 2-year-old girl of trying to be a grown woman. She ain't thought about being no grown woman.
Right.
She trying to imitate the females around her until she can find her own groove.
Mm-hmm.
And it just so happened you keep her up in grown folks' conversations like she grown. So of course she act like she grown. That's all she talk to.
Socialization.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why the structure in at the family's firm was always based on the age brackets. Like we didn't have playpens. We put them on the front porch and let them crawl around the picket porch, and with a
Mm.
swinging gate on it at the big house. That's where all the babies was at. And then you had the mothers was helping oversee the babies, or they was doing something to assist with the house duties. You had the 9 mother aunties. They got the toddlers to the 10-year-olds. The 3 to 10-year-olds, they got them out in the front yard.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's where the whole saying, don't jump off that yard if you ain't ready to run with the big dogs. That's where it comes from. So,
Talk about jumping off the porch.
yeah, don't jump off
Yeah.
the porch because the little boys want to play with the big boys because they boys. But they ain't did nothing to toughen themselves up for it. So when they first get out there, they gonna get smashed. And
Mm-hmm.
they gonna cry because they still children, but they trying to be like the big boys.
Mm.
Daddy gonna come over and say, "Yep, that's what happened when you play with the big boys. Get up, dust yourself off, stand back out there and try it again." Mama gonna, "Oh my poor baby." No, mama, don't pull baby, and he out there with the big boys. Let him be a big boy. Then 3 years later, he leader of the team. He quarterback. he can't barely see over the lane, outperforming everybody out there. They can't catch him when he run or nothing. But remember, when he first went out there and got knocked on his ass, he was a crybaby.
Right.
But he had to break out of mama's teachings in order to step into daddy's teaching. He had to break out of the boy's desire for the affection for the father's authority and rulership to teach him self-discipline and how to stand up to outside threats. This is why they don't want no fathers in the house.
Facts.
When father in the house, a boy gonna stand up when it's time to stand up. Ain't no father in the house. The boy is always wondering if he stand up, if mama gonna get mad. If he stand up, is he gonna make his sister upset? He worried about the women being upset when the burglar coming in the house. He don't know what to do, so he freeze. That's too much. That's too much guessing time right there. Can't guess when you can't guess when the enemy at the gate. If you decide to be a warrior or not, you need to already be that. But most people don't want the warrior around until they need one. Most people don't want the warrior around until they need a warrior. But when you need a warrior, sometimes it's too late. You ran all the warriors off because they didn't agree with everything you said and kiss your ass all the time.
Right.
Because warriors not gonna do that. And because you want it your way, you think that you can treat all of the warriors like shit. And then when we fall into a war, you ain't got no protection. Now you running up under somebody else's warrior.
You see that shit with the street women nowadays. They jump from one street dude to another street dude.
They
Either
trying
get
to
locked up or
trying to move up in power. Yep. They trying to move up in power too. But never knowing that she got more power than all them niggas. If she just walking her divine feminine, they gonna melt at her feet anyway.
Yep. And that's why I keep telling women. Go ahead.
Yeah. If she just knew that one little part, it'd change the whole dynamic of the streets. A lot of chicks don't want to sell sex, but they sell sex because they don't know who they is yet.
And that's the main reason why I keep telling people, women, they have so much power over this great awakening period because they can shift the mindset. They can shift the vibration. If women was like, I ain't messing with no dudes. If you ain't reading, you ain't working out, you ain't doing nothing self-affirming to where you better in yourself or whatever, it's closed shop for you niggas that's not tapped into that energy. I bet you this whole thing will change 360. You know what I'm saying? As far as like, men, fulfilling their roles.
You talking about that'll drag so many people out the closets. You would be
yeah, that too.
It'll drag a whole bunch of people out the closet. I'm telling you, that making the man stand up to be a man, it's gonna drag all. They gonna just start putting on lipstick. Like fuck it.
That's it's a socialization process too, though. So yeah. I can see.
Now, not only that though, if you're surrounded by women that's in their divine feminine, 3 of them or more, you can't be miserable. It's not possible. Your mitochondrial is pumping so much love frequency through your cells that all you can do is glow. Especially if they all love you. Have to see the Great Reckoning. And the Great Reckoning is the resolution, the final resolution to the Constitution. Remember, they violated their oath to the Constitution. Therefore, the Constitution was used as toilet paper. And since they used the Constitution for toilet paper, now it's time for us to show them how to properly clean their ass. So this is a valid format in social media platform with a reach that extends beyond 1,000 people. It's time-stamped in archivable format for posterity and for legal criteria to be met for all public notice. And with that, some of you roll the corn.
Right. Hey, you want to start with the Chiefess Cynthia for the super chat. Hey, you want to start with the small stuff first, and then we get into the 7-minute tapes? Cause we got a couple of small things we just got to go over.
Okay.
that people
You
wanted
would,
to ask about. It's about the Venezuela. I got like a couple clips on.
okay, but look, you the director.
Huh?
You the director, right? You don't when you
Let's go ahead.
directing the show. When you don't ask the guest on the
I
show
got you.
how to direct the show, you direct the show, and the guest gonna come along and they gonna help you with the show. The White Sands in the Americas and the old footprints, right? And he was talking about. Remember, we told you the out of Africa theory stems from the historical narrative given from a European perspective, or what they call a Eurocentric view of her historical record. Notice he said that the history hasn't changed in 2,000 years. 2,000 years ago, there was no concessions in what we call today the Middle East for the presence of people in the Americas, right? You had to be a high ranking priest with access to the portal gate to go from Kemet to Arizona, right? If you wasn't a high ranking priest, you had access, so therefore that information don't exist to you. Now, when they give us this narrative of history, none of it is considering anything in the Americas as a historical perspective from Herodotus' viewpoint. You got to remember, who was Herodotus? He was a Greek philosopher, right? That means he was from Greece. And the Greeks was being civilized in Egypt. They didn't have their first university was set up on the island of Crete in about 300, circa 325 AD or BC, I mean, right? That was their first university. The university was set up by priestesses that was sent to civilize Greece and to teach them matriarchal culture, what they call Hellenistic culture. It's named after Hela, the goddess, Helen, the catalyst for what they call the Trojan Wars, right? Or the Spartan Wars. They got different names for it. Now, in the Greek civilization, Helen is Hela. At the beginning of Ragnarok, there's a Odin or Zeus, whoever the father of Thor and Loki is going into his 1,000-year sleep. So he's leaving them in charge, but it's a problem. Once he leaves, Thor and Loki discover that their sister, Hela, has returned to reclaim her seat on the throne. What throne is she referring to? They keep pointing, because the show is Ragnarok, they keep pointing to Asgard. It wasn't Asgard. It was the Earth throne, the matriarchal, or what we call the sacerdotal seat. The sacerdotal seat is the supreme earth seat of the Great Mother. The Black Madonna holds her child and delivers the message to the public that unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given. He was waiting to be devoured by the dragon. But Big Mama steps in and blocks the dragon and catches the baby with her own hands. This is the story, right? Now, because all of a woman's eggs are in her at birth, every grandchild is still a child of that mother. So this is how the Big Mama hold the maternal right, because she carried the baby 9 months before her daughter ever conceived to carry it 9 months, right? So they have to adjust for the sacerdotal seat, the seat of the Great Mother, who was displaced from her throne in the Anunnaki Wars, right? Which took us to the second video. When I was telling y'all there's been a civilization under the ice, that serves as a receipt. Because I've been telling people for 5 years almost that under the ice of Antarctica, there was a frozen civilization that could telepathically communicate with the people that was coming down there to give them information, to teach them how to thaw them out from the frozen ice. But he mentioned something else, Agartha. Agartha is in the center of the earth. The torsion field version of Earth is not the same as the infinite plane version of Earth, which is not the same as what they call the concave or convex image of Earth. These is different levels of spiritual beings looking at the Earth. If you don't have a three-dimensional paradigm, you will not see the round Earth. If you're stuck in the fourth dimension, everywhere you look is an infinite plane because all is mind. And the map across the mind takes you across what they call the checkerboard floor, right? When I was a little boy, I used to press my eyeball. It'll go dark. But if you hold it for a second, the checkerboard floor will appear. But the only reason it's appearing is because of a significant blood quantum or quotient of divine blood. You can't see the checkerboard floor if you don't understand the optics. And that's why when I first started studying the eyeball, I press the side of my eyelid right here. My eyeball, it'll go dark. And if I continue to hold it, and I can see with my spiritual eye, there's a checkerboard there. The checkerboard is the fifth dimension. And it's on the fifth dimension where the game of the gods is played that affects the three dimension. So these people, when I told you the Bereshanga tribe didn't come from Africa, they was already there. This is basically what they confessing to in the second video. That it was already people there. They been there, right? They was under the ice. And he calls it an ice wall. It's a shelf, right? Now, remember that big mountain out west? They call it Devil's Mountain or Devil's Peak, where they had close encounters of the third kind, delivering the aliens delivering the abductees back on top of that mountain.
Right.
Right. Now, imagine that multiplied by a couple thousand times, and you understand how an ice shelf works. But you won't understand how it got there. If you want to understand how it got there, you have to be able to have the three-dimensional perception of the hollow earth or the torsion field earth. Because if you take the torsion field, it looks like an apple almost. But if you poke out of the globe around it, the auric field that holds everything to it, once you pierce through that, you are at absolute zero. Right? Below absolute zero. It's several hundred degrees below zero. That means that it's so cold that if water is exposed, it instantly freezes. The good thing about a flash freeze versus a slow freeze is the flash freeze can preserve whatever is frozen in a flash flood. Now, Earth is 1/3 of the size it used to be. When it was called Tiamat, it was almost as big as Jupiter. And it was a water world. But when they crashed that ship into it and they blew that chunk off that you call the asteroid belt, and they took away the moon that it produced and put this thing up, Luna. Right? When they put Luna up there, it stopped the women from being able to control a menstrual cycle in their biorhythms. Right? What we call it in modern terminology, the biological clock. Under the pre-lunar Earth, or Tiamat, as it was called back then, under that pretense, the woman had control of her bodily functions to such a high level that she could turn off her menstrual cycle and turn it back on at will. Right? Not only could she turn it on and off, but she can auto-inseminate herself. Right? Auto-insemination of a seed is known in modern science as parthogenesis. Right? Parthogenesis is a non-semen conception. an immaculate or a clean conception without the aid of the spittle of the man or the spill of the man, which is his ejaculate, which is his semen and his sperm. This was what caused the great war in heaven. And this is why I tell you in Revelations that the woman was travailing in childbirth, and the dragon was waiting to devour the child up on its birth. The dragon is a red dragon, but it represents those who steal the babies from the mothers and use it for blood magic, because the dragon means master. The blood magic is derived from what we call the Babylonian sin rites that made everybody sinners until we broke the whole of the doctrines of sin, which is threefold, which is why you have a trinity. Because it's blood magic, which represents the minstrel of the mother, right? It's sex magic, by which way the father passes the seed to the mother in the act of sex. And then it's money magic, which is the child, who is the heir, H-E-I-R, who is the one who is to receive the heritable wealth of the mother and the father as the first competent heir suitable to receive a birthright. And this is why you see Solomon in Kings killing his brother who had took the throne while his father was still alive. And Bathsheba, the wife, goes to the father and say, you know, this dude out here riding around talking about he the new king and that you crowned him. And the father said, no, I didn't crown him shit. I didn't tell him he was finna do nothing. So Bathsheba said, well, if that's the case, what do you think about assigning the throne to your son Solomon? And this is called the negotiation of princes. Each prince be evaluated by what we call consort number one, the wife. Consort number one may or may not pick her own child. The option becomes up to her, because if she never produce a competent male heir, then she have to pick from the male heirs that's available in order to find a competent replacement on the father line. Once she present him to the father had to test his position, his ability to hold his position. When the father tests his ability to hold his position, if he passed the test, now he's qualified to assert his claim to the throne. So this is why you see Bathsheba negotiating with David about seating Solomon as king, right? They use this book called the Bible because it derives from the ancient story we call the Holy Drama. Well, it's actually not the Holy Drama, but the Osirian resurrection, which is the resurrecting the father by finding the son to put on the father's seat. Heru becomes Osiris, right? And he had to be picked by the queen mother, sealed with the number 13, right? Number 13 is the queen mother seal. The man, number 6, doesn't become the master until he flips to number 7, right? So now that's a 67 numerically, but when you add them together, what do you get? The queen mother seal. So the queen mother tells her son that the big mama to be restored is born in 67, right? By sacred sealing it with 19. But it depends on the father line and the mother line. When the mother line, Empress Verdiasi, is infiltrated, she can no longer restore the Americas back to the tribes. She's been what we call collaterally estopped, right? That means that they have put so many roadblocks in the way by infiltration and subjugation and subversion to prevent her from exercising her matriarchal right to expel all the imposters. This this will take us to the Blue House now, because Empress Verdiasi can't claim the throne before she leaves this earth because she's infiltrated. And how do we know she infiltrated? It's because she never asserted her matriarchal right to sit in the sacerdotal seat. None of her advisors told her that the sacerdotal seat was in Philadelphia. And by her sitting in that seat is tantamount to the queen on the throne and ordering order to the whole kingdom. But when you sit in the sacerdotal seat in America, it's at this era, the close of the age, opening of the new age, gardening of Aquarius at the closing of Pisces, right? Taking you here from under the water to above the water. We have to see a matriarch sit in the sacerdotal seat, which is the heralding of the close of the empire that was ruling and the reset for the new birth to take place. So it falls down to what we call numerical value, right? Do you see it play out in the numbers? Once it play out in the numbers, then you can see where it fit in at in the paradigm. And then you move to the next level, right? So you can either, we can go from here to the next one, Elder, or you could take a couple questions in the intro.
Hey, do y'all have any questions based on the information that was given so far? Because we got a lot of stuff. Yeah, the audio had went out, but it's back good now. Everybody's saying it's back good now, so we good. What else? Okay, yeah, let's go to this next thing because we got some hot stuff, man. We waiting on some America upside the head. So they saying the cover up was the all was part of it, but the cover up scheme was to get that silver, man, for J.P. Morgan, because he really don't got what he say he got in the storage, and if they don't come up with this silver fast, that dollar could be in threat. So you think they gonna try to pull another silver exchange, like what they call in all the silver and confiscate? Oh, turn your silver in or else. So what do you think from this Venezuela thing? From what all we got, Rug? What you think?
Okay, play it backwards, Elder.
Okay.
Remember, they took us off of what standards? The gold standard and the silver standard, right? And they confiscated all of the gold, and then they later requested us to turn in our silver.
Right.
Okay, now, if we reclaiming everything, who got to give us what back?
Good question.
It has to be played in reverse.
Okay, go ahead.
So they have to give the people back the gold and the silver, right? The reason this is because this is the biggest single transfer of wealth in the history of the world. No time in history has anybody came to power and gave economic opportunity to everybody that they could find, not everybody they could see. Right? Normally, if a country take a windfall, the only people that actually see the benefit is what's known as the aristocracy. The aristocracy is coming from Aristotle. Right. That's who they named after. Aristotle was educated in Egypt. The same as Herodotus. The same as Plato's teachers. Right? This is when he's giving us the story of the Americas. They call it the Great Atlant, which became Atlantis when they tell the story. It's a Platonic story. Platonic means a friendly story. It's like you got a platonic relationship with a woman. It's a non-sexual relationship, meaning there's no intercourse. That means that there's just two standalone philosophies, right? The two standalone philosophies is known as the twin pillars, severity and mercy. These are teaching tools, severity and mercy. People have a tendency to run from pain and gravitate toward pleasure. The mercy seat is the seat by which pleasure is derived. The severity seat is the seat by which the pains of discipline is applied. Right? Now, the one who walks the middle path, aka the middle pillar, is the one who's called the straight bump, as in the 2-ball cane, and the cane being the straight bump. Right? In the left ball and the right ball. Right? So you playing a game of baseball with a black ball and a white ball. You strike out on the black ball because you can't see it. But you hit the home run with the white ball that goes over the field. The black ball is called a strike. Right? Which is actually a fastball. Speed of light. If you can match the speed of light, you travel at the speed of dark. Dark moves so fast that it's already there when the light comes. And it'll still be there when the light goes. So now we're seeing the imagery being played out in the Venezuelan situation. There's other stuff militarily going on with Venezuela as a drug export center for the deep state in America. Remember, Maduro gave the files to America that identify everybody who was funneling money back to themselves from the Venezuelan drug trades. This is why they targeted the drug ships and they was just blowing them up. Right? Because they was cutting off the money supply. Now we go back to the dollar, the petrodollar, the silver backing, and the gold backing. This is what this is taking us to. Militarily, they're creating a circumstance that's going to trigger another condition. If the people that's receiving the kickback money are hiring private militaries, right? They're using the accumulated Federal Reserve notes that comes in on pallets on transport planes, just like the drugs. They bring the money over here and then they break it down into duffel bags and Halliburton briefcases and they distribute it to the deep state actors attaché to be delivered to the deep state actor. They pay their militaries, their private militaries, millions of dollars a month, depending on the level of security they're asking for. If you cut off the access to the airspace, you cut off the deep state actors' access to what's known in the streets as liquid cash. They are no longer liquid. That means that everything is transactional is going to have to handle digitally. The problem with that was because they knew who they were, they already cut their bank accounts off. Access denied. Now, Maduro know each one of the people who's working through Central Intelligence and the DEA agency to traffic the drugs from South America, coming from all South American countries, not just Venezuelan, but using Venezuela as like a way station. And the file is the whole who owned what coca farm, what poppy field, who owned it. It's in the paperwork. Maduro surrendered the paperwork. Now, how do you protect Maduro once this is all brought out into the public? You have to have him under what's called state-sponsored security on high level, so you charge him with high-level crimes and you lock his ass up. Right? Now the deep state have to figure out who can they pay to help Maduro commit suicide, like Jeffrey Epstein. While they trying to figure that out, they still got to pay their private military's protection. Now, as a private military, most of these guys that started them, 99% of them, are former military. That means that they still believe in their oath to protect the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So the message goes from the military, let us make our money, and when they can't pay, you can come get them because we won't be here. So the military say, okay, just keep an eye on your ward. Because when you hire protection detail, they call you their ward. So while they watching the ward is paying them to watch him, but they still in communication with military intelligence. Right? Now, they know that these deep state actors, these private militaries know that they had access to trillions of dollars that the regular people never knew of or seen. And they was using sizable amounts of it in what's known as black ops operations. Okay, now, if you're going to get these people, you have to trap them using what they already do as the bait for the trap. That way, the enemy bait the trap himself. Now, when they get Maduro out, then they can show us exactly what the United States corporation being installed over here. They could show us the example so we could see how it worked when they took over and exerted jurisdiction over here that they did not have. Right? So when they asked President Trump who was going to run Venezuela, he said, what? We are.
Right.
Until such time as what? The people pick a viable leader. He just told us a code in there. He ain't talking about Venezuela. He talking about us over here, the tribes over here. But they using the Venezuelan story to pass the message in plain sight, in your face, behind your back. Now, the silver is critical because one, around Christmas time, Chase Manhattan, JP Morgan, closed 30,000 branches. Where's all these branches at? Right? They got to be servicing somebody somewhere else other than us, because it can't be 30,000 Chase branches across this country.
Nah, it ain't Chase shutting down like that.
Right. So they have other means and outlets. That's just telling us, by putting something out in the plain, blatant contradiction public like that. Right? That's telling us, pay attention to this, because it's finna tell you something else. This ain't really what you need to pay attention to, but the thing you need to pay attention to is coming up, which takes us to the assault on Venezuela. The people that is applying the JP Morgan silver situation is not telling y'all that the whole European silver standard was called in by the debtors, which was the actual rightful heirs of Europe. When they did that, it created what's known as a financial vacuum in the silver industry. That means they took out of circulation such a massive amount that it naturally made them raise the value of it, but also decrease the supply of it. Right? This is what the silver controversy is. And then the oil. the petrodollar. Remember, the BRICS nations are literally building a dam financially to force the dollar back home.
Right.
In order to crash the dollar at home. I mean, a domestic crash of the dollar system, which is right now being manifest in bank closures and laying off people in the IRS, cut 30% of their staff after they had already cut another like 35% of it a couple years ago. What they cutting back like that for? But then you have the conclusions of these accountings that the Doge team is doing. It's also telling them who is skimming off the top of our wealth in order to finance their opulent lifestyles. So if you're going to activate NESARA GESARA properly, you have to first know where everything that's going to be used as a backing for the financial system that has no such thing as interest or credit. You either got it or you don't got it. You either can afford it or you can't afford it. Right? Ain't no credit. Because credit creates what we call servitude debt serfs. The servitude debt serfs are people who's into somebody else's pocket and can't live their own life until they get out them people's pocket. This is what the music industry do to its artists. They keep them to the point where they can't use them no more and they can't make money on their own. Then they cut them loose with all their money in the music industry pocket. Right? So you seeing the whole thing, Moderno and all that, it's the same play that they played with Saddam Hussein. With a lookalike, because he's a Saddam Hussein lookalike.
That's right.
Some people think it's the same actor. I don't think it's the same actor, but I think they came from the same casting call. That's when you call all of the actors to play a part. Maduro was the leader of one of the cartels of Venezuela, who exiled the duly elected president. I think he went to the Middle East somewhere. And he'd been in exile for 3 or 4 years, and he was the president the people elected, but Maduro established a coup that ran him out of there. They reenacted the Obama administration when Trump was caught up in the Russiagate scandal. It's the same thing, but it's somewhere else because sometimes it's too close at home for us to really see it. So they have to show it to us away from home. If you're trying to get the mainland people to see what happened. Now, another thing that's tied to Maduro is the voting machines and who ordered them and what was the specs ordered on the machine because they came from Venezuela. The 2020 election steal. So this is getting deeper and deeper because now it's forcing people to make moves. That was not a Russian ship that they captured. That's why Putin didn't demand the ship back. He demanded the people back. He wanted to try them over there because they're Ukrainians. And they wanted to bring the Russian ship to escalate military warfare between the United States and Putin. But Putin's equivalent to what used to be the KGB and the CIA are actively communicating the intelligence that's telling them how these people are trying to start the war, and this is how you can make a preemptive strike. We watching it play out in real time, but we don't know what we're looking at because it's too close to home. Now they playing it out at intervals and spaces. Not to mention, a lot of people think that they waking up the great Leviathan, the serpent of the sea. Right? And some people think that they're trying to harvest some of the blood of the dragon, which I would say would be a very horrible idea. If it's real dragon blood, there's no container you would be able to hold it in. It has to, true dragon's blood has to evaporate in the air, and it don't leave a trace behind. Like if our blood evaporated, it'll leave a charred residue. Dragon blood doesn't do that, but it's also acidic to the touch. So that would be a bad idea, trying to harvest some dragon's blood. The simulated dragon's